I'm going to say good evening because it is evening here in Australia. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to Pebbles Rebels. As always, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land and pay respects to elders past, present, and emerging. And today we have a very special guest on our podcast. It is the wonderful Melody. Do you want to give us a wave, Melody?
Hello.
Yay! So
Yay!
So Melody is now our second guest we've had on the podcast. Second guest?
Second
Yes.
guess.
Yes, second
Yes.
guest.
Yep.
So yeah, we're gonna dive in. So we're gonna go straight deep, Melody. Can you
All
please
right.
take us back to the beginning when you were first diagnosed with NF?
Yeah. So I was 11 months old when I was just starting to walk as a little toddler. And the story is, as I pulled myself up onto the toy chest that I had, apparently my left leg snapped from underneath me. So my mum and her best friend and her son, came with us to the hospital, and the doctors were apparently blaming my mum for abuse. And luckily enough, because my mum's best friend was there, she was able to say no. She wasn't in the area when this happened, like she was in her room playing. And I don't know how it came about, how we started looking into it, but I call them coffee stains. That's what I was called. That's what they were called when I was younger to make it easy for me. And so at about 11 months old, I was diagnosed with neurofibromatosis, and I got a strain called pseudoarthrosis, which is essentially, instead of having a full intact, strong bone, anywhere in that bone that's affected, it can essentially become another joint and continuously break, and it's brittle. So after years and years of operations, from big frames with pins going right through the bone, like external frames with pins going right through, to try and stabilize it, and leg lengthening, nothing had worked. And so we did those for a few years. I think I went through about two before I was even 13. In fact, I had them all before I turned 10. So I was quite young.
Yep.
And when I was about 8 or 9, the doctors still couldn't fix my leg. So they gave me the option of having yet another Izala frame, which would last 2 years, or we would amputate at the ankle joints, and that's called a Symes amputation. And at that age, I remember the first thing was just, yes, I want to be out of pain. I was looking at going to high school in the next few years, and I wanted to be, I guess, quote unquote, a normal kid. And so I made that decision with my mum when I was little to amputate, and it happened pretty quick from that point onwards. I don't know the timeline. It all happened very quick. So yeah, yeah, it's been a long few years. I always never thought I had an issue with my NF other than my leg. And I guess in the leg issue itself with the pseudoarthrosis is a big issue. I still have issues today that I'm in contact with my surgeons to actually have a revision surgery because I've got a benign neurofibroma inside my top of my tibia, creating pain. And, we don't want that fibroma there. So we're looking at going through the knee of a new amputation.
Well,
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot. I try and think about it, and it's not so easy to think about.
Mm,
of course not.
And
definitely.
A lot of courage, that's for sure.
I was going to say, like,
Oh,
this
Yeah.
is
so much courage.
So,
Well,
do you have a good support team like through all that?
yeah, so weirdly enough, the conversation came up about I never thought an amputation was possible because my bone's so weak. I've got a titanium rod through my bone keeping it stable, and I was told as a little girl that that rod can't come out or my bone will just kind of shatter into, a thousand pieces.
Yeah.
And over the years, becoming a young lady, it was hard to express yourself in the way you dress, the shoes you wear. And I'm not able to wear a high heel because of the height difference, and there's such a short remaining room underneath my stump. So one night, my partner had just turned around and told me he had spoken to an amputee in my local town and we were talking about it. And he suggested, why not ask if it's a possibility to do a revision amputation, which I didn't even know where to start. I had to eventually talk to the gentleman who makes my prosthetics. He linked me in with a rehab facility, and they said, well, given that it's such a specialized condition, we don't want to do anything and do more damage than good. And then it all in kind of this same time, I connected in with Janu through a mutual friend of ours that I've known for years. And then she helped me get in contact with the CTF, which then Martin Good, the lovely clinical nurse, helped me get in contact with all these other doctors. And eventually I got in contact with who I believe is a really good surgeon and is going to help remove this pain. It's a daily pain, and it's for anyone who hasn't experienced chronic daily pain. Sometimes it's not bad, but sometimes it is crippling. It does take a lot of mental and physical energy to keep going and pushing through it.
Yeah. I think that's what a lot of people who have that luxury of not experiencing chronic pain is they don't realize the psychological impact. It's not just the physical pain.
Mm.
It has a psychological impact. Like that's a really good shout out.
It does take a toll, and I'm fortunate enough to have just been linked in with a pain therapist, which also gives me access to a psychologist and a physiotherapist, which it's come at a really good time knowing that I've got this amputation coming up in the next 12 months. I'm able to link in with these services, and I think it's come at a great time. I can talk to the therapist about how I'm coping with the actual upcoming surgery. The physiotherapist will get me physically strong, and the pain therapist will hopefully help take away some of this pain that I'm experiencing.
So with this chronic pain, are you on special meds and do you have trouble getting them because the pain would be quite bad, I would imagine.
So, yeah, so I got really lucky. I took myself to urgent care because I was in a lot of pain, and they gave me I keep calling Tatarol. It's an opioid. It's a
Pendinol?
stronger, yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah. It's an immediate release, and that does help to a point, but I still do have that background bone ache. And I was told recently a tumor inside the actual bone it's not very common. When I asked Martin about it, he said, yeah, you don't hear of it very often. So I guess it's making it hard for doctors to actually help me because I can explain what type of pain I'm in, but I've experienced some pretty bad pain in the past. So I think how I'm expressing the pain is not really how it's coming across because I'm still working on my feet. I still do everything I want to do. So I'm saying one thing, but it's not coming across that way.
I think that's
Yeah.
for a lot of people with NF though. I feel like we have a higher pain threshold than the average person, is my understanding, which does make it a
Yes.
challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually not the threshold because the pain threshold is when you feel the pain, but what it is, it's a higher tolerance to pain
Yeah.
because pain's like our normal,
Yes.
even though it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, like I hope you don't mind my sharing this in a conversation I actually had with Melody, a doctor actually sort of dismissed her concerns, going, "Oh no, pain's normal," and
Yeah.
and just sort of sent her on her way. And I guess you can sort of back this up, like you think like getting a second opinion from another
Yeah.
doctor is,
Yeah, it really does pay off to get that second opinion. And that first time I went and saw that, he was a younger doctor. He was, probably 30, 35, maybe a little older. Um, so I saw him because my regular GP wasn't available. She was having some time off. And yeah, I walked into the office and I told him what was going on, and he looked at me and he said, "Oh, no, pain in your leg's normal for amputees because your leg's not the same as a regular leg." And I'm not one to dismiss what a doctor says. I didn't want to create a huge issue out of it, but I did end up calling back and saying, "Hey, I want to see my doctor." And on a recent phone call with the receptionist, I said, "No, I don't want to see this doctor." He dismissed my pain that I've been in since November of last year. And they were really good. They said, "Yep, no worries, we'll get you in to see someone else." So being able to have the options to go to different doctors, because there's doctors' clinics all over, is it's really good to get that second opinion. I believe you've got to trust yourself with how you feel, because only you yourself know what is normal and what isn't. Like, no doctor knows what your normal is. You've got to push that across to them.
yeah. And just to piggyback off that comment, what is one thing you wish that healthcare providers understood about managing NF alongside limb loss?
I think they need to do the additional training that they have out there for NF in particular, and amputees as well. As you can do all the training in the world to understand about amputees and what they experience, but until you have that experience working with more than one person, because we're all different, it's hard to find those right doctors. And I've always just been lucky to get, I don't know how, but I've always been really lucky to get a GP that just so happens to have had experience with NF. Now they're younger than me, but they've had that experience. And my most recent trip to Sydney to see my specialist, once again, I got extremely lucky in my orthopedic specialist, she said that she had a couple other younger patients with the exact same strain of NF as me, so the pseudoarthrosis, which helped relax me a lot, because I believe she had more of an understanding about my particular condition to anyone else, and that's how I connected with this particular doctor. I felt like she would listen to me and understand the actual pain I'm in, and she did, and I'm so thankful for it. Um, it's definitely put my mind at ease as well, knowing that there are doctors out there that are actively trying to help fix my issue. So it's going to be a crazy ride and a long one.
Cool.
For
All
sure.
right.
And
So, all right. This is a question more around your identity. Do you identify more strongly with the NF community or the amputee community?
So I think I definitely lean towards the NF community a lot more. Um, More so for the fact I know I'm an amputee. Anyone missing a body part is an amputee. But because I've got everything from my knee to the very bottom of my ankle, like I've got my ankle bone and where my heel would be, I myself don't necessarily feel like a real amputee, because typically when you see an amputee, from my experience, is there are either above the knee amputation, a below the knee amputation, or a very small percentage of amputees are arm amputations. I've never met another amputee with the same amount of limb left over. And So it makes it hard to sometimes make those connections because my experience is much different to a below the knee amputation. Um, and so the NF community seems to be my main hub of friends and people who I can talk to and relate to in some aspects, because once again, we're all different. We have our own experiences. But I think that's what makes everyone such good friends, because we all have these different stories we can talk about, which then grows, your knowledge of what NF really actually is, because in my eyes, I don't know that much. Like, in the grand scheme of things, I know my condition. I know what could happen in the future, but I know my condition the best.
Yep.
For sure. I think everyone's in the same boat when it comes to that, because it's such a bastard of a thing that's so various from person to person.
Diverse
Yeah.
condition that each case is different.
And I think
Yeah.
that's where like CTF do a great job of, like, we all connected originally through the Canberra trip, and that's how this podcast started.
Yes.
And it's because of the community that we've managed to, I guess, have from an organisation that do amazing work in that space, that
Yep.
we're going to connect, despite us living in different states, in different parts of other states as well.
I think
Yeah.
Kirsty and I actually met at a camp. We actually shared a room at a
Yeah,
camp
that's
once.
right. My first CTF camp, we were
Yeah.
asked if we're happy to share.
Yeah. So Melody, you said that, you happened to so I actually met Melody through a mutual friend of mine, and Melody actually met them on a cruise when they were on their honeymoon.
Which,
And
funny enough, that cruise was the celebration for the end of all my operations for the amputation. And
Wow.
yep, and the cruises work much different nowadays, but when I was about 9, and the way this particular cruise worked, you could have a private dinner that would always be booked for you, or you could go to a different restaurant that you would just get someone, like a random room you would sit with, but you would paired with that room for the entire cruise. So one morning they might not be there, but the other morning they could be. And that is how I met my mutual friend. We just sat down at the table together, and I was really talkative back then, like my brother, and we all got along, and we've been best friends ever since.
yeah. And so
Small
that's how I met,
world.
and that's how I met Melody, and then I connected
Yep.
Melody with CTF. So my question for you, Melody, is how did it feel finally finding that little posse of NF crew?
It was really good. So for a few years, our friend was saying, "Hey, I've got this friend. She just so happens to have the same condition. This is her name." And so for years, I've known about you. I just never,
Same.
and he
But
kind
we
of
they
just,
it took
yeah.
them
And
for
for years, he said he was going to get us in contact, and life happens. And just before he was getting a bit sick, I said, "Hey, can you please get me in contact with your friend?" And yeah, from then on, we clicked, and then once again got me in contact with CTF, which I never knew about before, which then led me to the camp and then to where I am today. So hats off to you, Janu. You do a great job of, I wouldn't know where to go if I didn't have some sort of, hey, there's this out here. Why don't you get in contact? So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, because I found CTF and the camps and things quite late in life, just like Melody, and I think Melody will agree with me. It just felt like I was coming home,
Yeah.
like when I found my NF crew,
Yeah.
because I finally had friends who got it. Like I have wonderful friends, but obviously there's things that they can't fully relate to
Yeah.
because they don't have NF,
hmm
and
So I
like
guess,
they can support me and empathize with me,
yeah.
but they can't really fully get it, and they're
I
wonderful. Go on,
Yeah.
Kira.
So I guess that's the case with me and my good friends of nearly 2 decades. We met at a family camp in 2007, and we remained in contact. And I'm actually able to go to them and be like, "Hey, what do you think of this?" And be able to have people in another family completely understand what is going on in my life, and I don't have to explain it.
So
They
yeah,
Yes.
just
it's a
get it.
really validating feeling.
Mm,
Like, I never knew anyone with NF other than my father, who I won't get too far into it, but he was diagnosed the same day I was diagnosed because my doc, I don't know how, once again, they got really lucky. The GP sat there and looked at my parents and he said, who has these birthmark looking things? And they kind of looked at each other of like, well, my mum didn't. And it turned out my dad had these coffee stains. And so he was diagnosed the same day. Now, he was very unfortunate. From my understanding, his particular condition, he had a tumor on his actual spinal cord that was cancerous, and was active. And the doctors kept pushing him back to have surgery to try and fix it. And yeah, so unfortunately, he didn't survive the cancer. It got too bad for his body. Um, and my brother, I had a younger brother, so he lost a father, but then he was also diagnosed with NF around the same time dad had passed. So my bubble of knowing people with NF was just me and my brother, and I grew up knowing that my whole, you know, young teenage life of never expected to come across someone with NF. I was always under the impression NF was rare, but it's not so rare as I had thought it was. So finding the group of people who do understand each other in their own ways, we can sympathize because we've all gone through something different. But I guess you have a general understanding of what that person actually might be going through.
Sure.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't feel
And
like you're whining. Because sometimes
exactly.
this, sometimes you might go home at the end of the day and go, "Oh, bloody hell, this happened," and then yeah, it's like others go, "Yeah, what? Okay, yeah, quit your moping."
We'll ask the
Yeah.
Yeah.
next
Well,
question
Kate,
and end the call and then think about that and then we'll restart.
okay,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
So
Okay.
case in point. Oh, do you want to end it here and then we'll jump on again, or?
Yeah, maybe just to be safe.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So, case in point to what Bernie said about having friends, who you can whinge to. So today I actually had a bit of a crummy experience, and I was able to whinge to the lovely people who are here on the podcast. So today a man came and asked me, I was at an event and a man came and asked me a question. He goes, "Oh, what happened to your skin?" So I thought, cool, teaching opportunity. So I said it's a genetic condition. And then he sort of pulled away and sort of says in a joking voice, "Oh, I hope it's not contagious." It's like, ugh, what a jerk. And these guys also concurred with me. Yes, what a jerk. But on the plus
Yep.
side, it gave me an opportunity to use these community cards. Now, you should be able to see them. And these, I will share in a video later on our Instagram channel, the story about these community cards. But it basically has a QR code on it. So when people ask the question and you don't really feel like having the conversation, you can give them this card and it goes to a website that explains exactly what NF is.
And they're free as well.
So, sorry?
They're free to get
Well,
through CTF as well.
yes, they are free. You can get them from the CTF website. So if you go to ctf.org.au and you go into the shop, you can get them there and they're absolutely free and they're very cool. And on the back, it says, "I have neurofibromatosis," and it explains that it's a genetic condition, that it's not contagious, and that, people are born with it. It probably looks like it's back to front on my camera, but yeah,
Uh,
that
we can see it just fine.
Oh, you can? Okay, great.
Yeah.
That
Cool.
card was a lifesaver for me once, actually. I was working in retail and I had a lady come in and she was a nurse and she goes, "Oh, what have you done to your leg?" Because my leg looks like a moon boot or a plaster cast. And I said, "Well, I actually have a genetic condition. It's called NF." And I've just always called it NF, so I didn't think I should probably say neurofibromatosis. And I said, "Oh, I've got a card. I'll go get it for you." Because she was a nurse. I thought she might be
Mm.
interested in it. And she looked at it and she goes, "I know someone with NF." And it turns out there's somewhere in my local town. I'm still not able to find who they are. It's apparently an older gentleman. Um, but yeah, having that card really helped. And she straight away knew what I was talking about. And yeah, a lifesaver. I carry them around all the time, no matter
Mm.
where I am. I've always got one.
What's everyone's reaction when someone says, "Hey, I know what that is"? What's everyone's reaction? Because I get like extremely excited.
Probably excitement and surprise
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
it's happened.
surprise and excitement.
It's happened to me
Mm.
at the airport because so I only learnt this after the fact. So sometimes your tumors can actually set off the airport body scanners, the one where you have to sort of stand like this inside the body scanner and
Mm.
it sort of,
Really?
yeah, so it's because like what the body scanner it looks for different density in your body, so then it can pick up if you're smuggling something or whatever. And apparently some tumors, the density difference can get triggered on the airport scanner, apparently.
Wow.
Mm.
And so that
Yeah, I know.
happens
I mean, sorry.
happens to me every time. And then one time when I got pulled aside, they were like, "Oh, do you have any metal or whatever?" And I'm like, "No." And they're like, "Oh, we just have to pat you down." I go, "Yeah, yeah, this happens every time. It's because of my tumors." And she goes, "Oh, you have that thing. It's called NFM, I think." So she thought like, neurofibromatosis. And I was like, "NF?" And she's like, "Yeah, that's the one." I was like, "Oh, wow, you know what it is."
Yeah.
That
So
would have felt
yeah,
really good in the moment. Yeah.
it felt really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think, apart from the people through the CTF, I've met anyone who has it who knows what it is, or that apart from a doctor. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It was a really cool surprise.
Yeah, it's like I know a small portion of people where I haven't had to explain what it is, and it's just the relief that I get on my face when I don't have to explain what it is. It's just, you know what it is.
yeah,
Well,
and I
it's
think I've,
telling a complete stranger um something quite complex and I know for myself I don't know how to necessarily approach it because everyone's different. So
Mm.
sometimes I shorten it, just say I've got neurofibromatosis or NF and I've got a bone condition associated with it. But
Yeah.
everyone's different. And I kind of
Yeah.
just leave it at that because I mean, what else? You could be there for years and years and years trying to explain to this person.
Mm.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, these community cards, absolutely amazing. Grab them from the CTF website. In fact, the URL is right there.
And it's on our link tree as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, so I just while I've got in my mind, while scrolling one of the NF forums that I'm a part of, a young girl um, up the coast, in fair distance, a couple hours, reached out wanting to make some friends, and I don't know if she's in contact with the CTF, but once I get to know her a little bit more, I'm gonna say, "Hey, have you heard about this organization?" Much like Janu did to me, of making her aware of there is an organization out there and a whole community of people who would, love to get to know this young lady and her story and I guess make her feel comfortable as well.
Absolutely.
Well, welcome them in with open arms and say, "Welcome home, your family now."
Yeah.
We are
And,
we are
and
like one big family anyway.
we
Like
are.
Yeah.
at all of the camps that I've been to, like everyone sits with everyone and they just talk, and then like there'd be some nights where you might sit with one family, but then the next night you'll sit with another family, and we just welcome with each other with open arms and be like are very open and want to know your stories and like, and I've lost my train of thought.
Yeah. I've got a bad feeling that the camp isn't going to happen this year.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's
May
getting
maybe
pretty late.
I was thinking that
I think
maybe we
I think they announced dates for camps because they just had the WA camp like the other
yeah.
day. So
Yeah, and they have got one out for Melbourne,
yeah.
but not Sydney. I haven't checked
Mm.
for about a month,
I'll
but
tell you, I'll tell you what, we will look this up and we will put a link with the details somewhere in our link tree or our
Yep.
bio, wherever that goes in the
Yep.
direction of this podcast. And yeah, so let's jump back into the questions, Melody.
Yeah.
Um, how do you handle the uncertainty of NF on top of everything else that you've had to go through?
So I up until recently I never had any type of testing. I had some blood taken for a genetic test to confirm what we already knew, that I had NF. But it was always about my legs, so I never had a proper thorough check to see if there was any unknown tumors. And I was really lucky. I managed to get into a trial called the SMOC trial at the Royal North Shore. And because I had asked my doctor if I could do a full body MRI just to make sure. And she said, well, we wouldn't typically do it unless we had a reason. But because the trial was running, I was able to link in. And so I had the MRI and the results came back all clear. I've got lots of internal neurofibromas in my glutes and my thighs, and I have got three behind my left knee. I don't know exactly where, but somewhere in the nerve there as well. But I've always considered myself very lucky, and yeah, I'm very happy that there's nothing of concern because it's so yeah, it's very unsure if, if you do or if you don't until you get that testing done.
mm,
Can you tell us more about this SMOC trial? Because it might actually be helpful to other people.
Yeah, so the SMOC trial was at the Royal North Shore, over in their radiology clinic. And the process, what it was is you sign all your papers to give consent to store the images and, all that fun stuff with paperwork and scans. So they take you into a room, a little cubicle. You take out any of your jewelry, so ear piercings, necklace, or whatever else, jewelry, rings, and things. So you've got to take off everything, and they actually have you strip down. So they take everything off, and you put on a really disposable cheap gown. And then I had no time to mentally prepare from leaving that room to getting to the MRI because these people, that's their job. They do MRIs every single day. So they're like, all right, lay on the machine and just start hooking up all these, like, there were covers that would go over your legs, over your chest, started putting, all the head things across your head. And for anyone who hasn't had an MRI, or if you have but it's been for a lower leg, going into the actual MRI machine and not having any time to process what just happened was a very, very full-on experience. Like, I don't have issues with tight spaces or loud noises, but because of how fast things moved, it was very overwhelming. I did cry for a little bit because of how fast it happened. Like, it was a bit of I guess, a shock to my system of what was actually going on. But once I settled into the actual MRI machine, it seemed to have gone quite quickly. It took I think it was about 45 minutes to an hour. You have breathing exercises, so you'll be asked to take a deep breath in and hold while your lungs are fully inflated, and then breathe out and hold so they can see what your lungs look like when they're not inflated. So that was not fun. it was a decent amount of time of having to hold your breath when they were told, when you're told to. But taking the opportunity to have those checks, it took a lot of weight off my shoulders of the unknown.
Yeah.
You take away that scary factor of if you know something's there, you can keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
And
Just
just so we can,
as well, I know that it is typically for New South Wales residents unless you're willing to go to Sydney. If you're interstate like I am, there is a longer process to go through to get into trial. I'm still waiting to actually get an appointment for it. But yeah, typically if
is that for the smock trial, Kirsty?
yeah.
Cool.
I told Kirsty about that one actually.
So we will try and find some details and links and things, and we will put those in our link tree as well, just for anyone who is in New South Wales and is interested, and for other states, they can at least get added to the already long wait list because
Uh,
yeah, some of us like we do get the MRIs because we are symptomatic, and so that's why we've had MRIs. And for those of you who are just like Melody, who just never got to have monitoring, this may actually be an option for you. So just in case, we will try and get details so you can find out if you're eligible. All right, one more question. Has there ever been a moment where you felt like you'd reached your limit and you were just like you're about to lose your marbles, and what was it that brought you back from that?
So I was going through the process of getting a new prosthetic, and for someone who doesn't know the process, you go see your prosthetist. They take a bunch of measurements depending on the amputation, but my personal experience is they put like a compression sock on your leg, mark out where your kneecap is or where roughly your bone would be on top of that compression sock, and then they plaster cast it, and then they remove the plaster cast, they take it away, and they start the process of making, which for anyone who hasn't seen it, I recommend go watching a video because it is a really very interesting process. I love watching videos of it. But I had just gotten a new leg that was meant to be for an adjustable heel. And because, like I mentioned, the height difference, I can't wear a heel. So when I received that leg and it wasn't working, I was working my retail job and it was a late night shop, and I was thinking too far into it. And I had worked myself up a lot and was starting to hate my amputation. And I went over next door to talk to my neighbors in the store to, just have a girls' talk and say, hey, this is how I'm feeling. And it had really affected me. It never had, but this particular day, the actual thought of my particular amputation was, in that moment, was just the worst thing. I was starting to joke of, if I if my leg was hit by a car, someone would do something about it and it would be rectified. But the very same day, I kind of looked at it and I thought, well, I can't be upset because I was given the opportunity to, do all these things that I love. And if it wasn't for the amputation, I wouldn't have been where I am today. And when I got home and had, spoken to my partner about it, that's when he's like, well, you should see if you can get a rear vision amputation, which then just opened that whole barrel of worms of knowing that it could be an option that was out there. It did help me. It brought me back to, I guess, earth of knowing that if I try, I can get it fixed and help me feel comfortable. And the biggest thing from my most recent doctor's appointment with the surgeon, he walked in, looked at me for 5 minutes, and he goes, one of the first questions he asked, he was asking, straightforward question, was not beating around the bush. And then one of the first things he had said, he goes, so I heard you don't like your leg. And I'm like, Yeah. And then he goes, I know he meant it in his best intentions, but he's like, it's a bit ugly, isn't it? And I'm sitting there in shorts with my leg, you know, for everyone to see, whoever walked past. And I'm like, yeah, I do. Like, I had never thought about it, but I did agree. And within 2 minutes, he's like, yeah, we'll do the amputation. And I was going into this appointment feeling like I was going to have to explain and convince this doctor of why I needed it. And for him just to go, yep, we'll do it, put me in like deer of headlights moment of I was, going in prepared with all these questions and statements, and then he's like, yeah, we'll do it. Completely caught me off guard. But then I went back to thinking about that particular night when I was so upset, um, knowing that I finally found, the light at the end of the tunnel. Finally, someone was listening to me. And now knowing that being able to express myself and feel comfortable being an amputee is it's something special because you spend so long with these issues, and then for someone just to turn around and go absolutely without questioning you, it yeah it was a it's a feeling that I can't explain.
Was it like a whole weight had been lifted off your shoulders, like the weight of the world had been lifted off your
Yeah,
shoulders? A
yeah,
big
and I've
sigh
only
of
had
relief.
that. Yeah, exactly, and I've only had that feeling twice, and one of those times was the doctor agreeing. So now I've just got the process to wait for the appointment, which is agony because, I would rather just to be done if I had a choice tomorrow to get on with healing. But knowing that it's just around the corner, if I could tell myself, if I could go back in time and tell myself from when I was really upset that day, I would go back and I would be telling myself that like just ask the questions. Because if you don't ask the
I still
questions,
remember.
you don't know, you can't get an answer.
Yeah.
I still remember the conversations you and I had, and I think in one of the conversations I was like, dude, you've got to get a second opinion.
Yeah.
And I remember you were kind of scared as well because at the time you thought, oh, can I get a second opinion? And
Yeah. And
I'm
if
just
they're
so
going to
glad you
listen
did.
to me,
Mm.
Yeah, and I remember in the lead up you were so nervous as well, and you were just like, and I said, write down all your arguments and have it
yeah,
ready. You went in there
yeah,
like armed and ready for this like
I
battle
was.
royale, and then the doctor was
Yeah.
like, okay.
And I
And when
Yeah.
you
And I
told me,
walked
oh,
out of that appointment. I called my mom. I told her she should be sitting down. And I told her it was approved. And I was signing paperwork for consent during that phone call. And I handed my paperwork back in, went to make my follow-up appointment, and my first person I called you, Janu, to tell
yeah,
you the good news because I felt like I needed to tell someone that had been listening to what I was feeling and
I
that
was shocked myself. I was like, when she said, oh, the surgery's happening, I was like, wait, what?
yep. Yeah, it was kind of one of those pinch me moments of, is
Yeah,
this actually happening?
and
And as nervous as I am, I'm ready for it.
I think
Yeah.
that also
that's
is a testament to the fact that we know our bodies better than anyone else. And
Yeah.
yes, it's scary sometimes to second guess the doctor you're seeing or go, I'm sorry, but I don't think you are understanding me. But having the courage to go, actually, I'm not okay with like the answers, and actually taking that sort of courage to step out and go, I want a second opinion. And in your case, like Melody, it's just a testament to the fact that sometimes those second opinions are what we need to actually move forward
Yeah.
with our own care.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Like I said earlier, if you don't ask the questions, you won't know. And you yourself is the only one who knows your body. I believe that pain is not normal. Pain is telling your body and your mind that something's wrong. And to finally find out what the potential cause of my pain is of being that neurofibroma in my bone was kind of also a sigh of relief of like, okay, now we know this is probably what's causing the pain and this is how we're going to manage it. So getting that second opinion, it could make a break of, how you're going to approach something.
Yeah. And when I said
Yeah.
earlier that pain is normal for living with NF, like, yes, pain is normal for us, but pain is still not normal. So
Yeah.
if you live with NF, like, and you have pain, don't just think, oh, yeah, okay, it's NF, this is normal. Like, go and ask your doctor, ask the questions, get the answers, because there may be something that can stop the pain. It might be a medication, it might be surgery, it might be, I don't know, physical therapy or something that can, so you don't have to live in pain. Like,
Mm.
don't just accept the pain as normal.
No,
So,
you don't want to live your life in pain,
Oh,
yeah.
definitely
It's
not.
been like that for me for the last handful of months, and you've got to do what is best for you because, like Janu said earlier, it does take a toll on your physical but your mental health as well. And it's never nice to be in pain. I wouldn't wish it on anyone, regardless of who they are. Of pain should not be something anyone should experience, from something simple to something much more severe. But yeah, I think if anyone's in pain, I'm always a strong believer in, you go get the help, you go see someone to help remove that pain from your life.
Yeah.
Cool. So looking to the future, like, let's look at like something really positive from this. What's
Yeah.
something that you hope that someone listening to this podcast walks away thinking or feeling, especially for someone, maybe even someone who's never heard of NF before as well? Like, what would you hope that they got from this?
Knowing that they're not alone. Like, yes, we're all different, but we all we have an understanding of each other. Like, from what I know, out of everyone that I know with NF, obviously, none of them are amputees. I I don't know of anyone with NF that's an amputee. So it feels lonely in that aspect of things. So yeah, reaching out and listening to people's stories, doing some research as well from the CTF of reading up on things, and you're not alone out there because it is out there. There are people out there that are, a community who will take you in and welcome you with open arms.
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so now we've got some rapid fire questions that we're going to be asking our guests
Yep.
going forward, some fun ones. So don't think too much about it, just whatever comes up
Yep.
at the top of your head. What show are you currently streaming?
Avatar: The Last Airbender, the live action season 2.
Awesome. Okay, and if there was one famous person, dead or alive, that you could have dinner with, who would it be?
Ed Sheeran.
Cool. Okay, coffee or tea?
Hey,
What's your go-to comfort food?
And
go-to comfort food. Oh, probably some hot chippies with chicken salt.
Yes. Love a good hot chippy sandwich. Fresh white
Yep.
bread with tomato sauce.
I go mayonnaise because I'm quarter Dutch, so I put mayonnaise in my hot chippy sandwiches.
so the Dutch like
I'm
mayonnaise on their
quarter
chips,
Dutch
do
as
they?
well.
I personally love it. I don't know about. I can't speak for anyone else, but
Garlic
me and my
mayonnaise.
mum
I'm
both love it.
Oh,
I'm quarter Dutch as well. I'm gonna have to give it a
I
try.
think
so
so.
what was that, Bernie? Garlic mayonnaise, so like an
Garlic mayonnaise.
aioli?
Aioli.
Oh, yep,
Oh,
I've
Yeah.
had that one.
yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Superpower. Flying or invisibility?
Flying.
And are you a morning person or a night owl?
Oh, a night owl.
Okay, and go on. What is the best advice that you've received?
No question is a dumb question.
What's one thing in your bucket
You know, you can ask it a bunch of times. Sorry?
What's one thing in your bucket list that you haven't done yet?
Travel. Like out of state. Well, out of Australia.
Which celebrity would you want to portray you in a movie if there was a movie made about you?
Oh, I think Joey King. She's a really good actor.
Yeah.
She's played some pretty good roles.
What would 10-year-old Melody think of you now?
I think she'd be proud of the things that I've done and that I haven't let anything stop me.
Yeah, I think she would be too. And even though I've only known you for a short time, I am immensely proud of you.
Thank you.
Like just seeing you, like, from that person who I met, a while ago who was too scared to even ask a doctor for a second opinion to who you are now, telling people get that second opinion. And like, I am so amazingly proud of you. And I'm so
Thank
glad that
you.
we met.
Yeah. Should have happened a lot earlier, but
Yeah,
everything happens for a reason. So I believe that
100%.
I was linked in at the perfect time.
Exactly.
Mm.
All right. So that wraps up another episode of Pebbles Rebels. And as always, if you would like to join the rebellion and be a guest on our podcast, please drop us a message either on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube,
Email.
email, carrier pigeon. Just reach out and join the rebellion.
See you on the flip side, Rebels.
Just remember, you are not alone. Bye.
Yeah. Stay strong and keep on waddling.
Thanks, Melody. See you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Thanks,
Melody.
Mel.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Pebbles Rebels. We know some of what we share can be heavy, and if anything from today's episode has left you feeling unsettled, overwhelmed, or just in need of someone to talk to, please know that support is always out there and reaching out is always okay. We've put together a list of mental health services for different countries in our link tree. We've done our best to include as many countries as we can, and we'll keep adding more as we find them. You are not alone, and you don't have to sit with this by yourself.